We are going over the petrol mapping on the CNG SkyPRO kit for a 2011 Chevy Silverado. We'll mainly just be using the settings tab and the map tab at the top left. So going over to the bars chart, which is the one that the tab that I prefer to use, we're going to erase all of the current maps. Because this is already been tuned, so I can already see here that the idle is kind of adapted best to -19. I'm going to move this back to 0 just to show you how badly it's going to run at the beginning of a fresh calibration, and then the slider bar over here, as we call these things, it defaults to 1. So I erased all the maps because our system remembers the way you drive. So we're going to switch back over to gasoline or petrol. And that's what it's doing right now. You can see, and we're going to clear out again. You just want to make sure you start with a fresh gas map because while it's running on CNG or gas, it's going to be comparing the timing injections and the fuel trims based on what it knows it should be doing on petrol or gasoline. So now we're running on petrol, and across the bottom you'll see the red bars. Those are the collecting statuses. As we're driving down the road, those will grow, and once those bars reach a peak, that will be as much as data as you're going to need to collect at that point of the map. This takes a little bit of time. You'll be driving around for maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, just depends on how traffic is and how good of a test driver you are. You'll get better at this to where a typical test drive will only take maybe 15 to 30 minutes tops. With 2 people doing it, you can easily do it in less than a half hour. Some vehicles, like a Tundra for example, those tend to tune really quick. So just depends on how experienced you are. This is kind of the boring stage. We're just driving normal. We're not doing anything special. You can just see we're driving around, coming to stoplights, doing whatever. You want to try to obviously drive in every driving condition, so high speeds, getting up over 80 miles an hour, flooring it, doing all of these things will get you to collecting a petrol map as effectively and efficiently as possible. The red bar across the bottom won't quite reach the top of that status box, but you'll see when they all get parallel and even with each other that's where you need to be. When you get really good at driving, you'll be able to target these bars that are lower than other bars. You'll be able to target that point of the map. And again, we're not tuning anything right now. We're just driving on gasoline, and the natural gas ECU is learning the grid or the map, the multipliers of the engine. Maybe we'll speed this up. You can see going across the bottom, the bars are slowly getting more and more populated. Once you get over 10 milliseconds, that gets to a pretty high load, and it's pretty high timing injection. And you're rarely going to be operating the vehicle with that over that high of timing injection. So it just depends on the driving habits, of the customer. But I like to get it, definitely up to 10 and even up over 12 milliseconds, at least a partial map. Because when you're up over 10 and 12 milliseconds, you're only going to be there for a few seconds anyway. So even if you're a little bit rich or a little bit lean, it's not necessarily the end of the world. But the bars below 10 and 12, you definitely want to get them maxed out. And now I'm just going to be fast forwarding things a little bit for time's sake, but you can see that the red petrol bars across the bottom are almost done. Just through driving, a little bit of on the freeway, on the highways, and on surface streets. And once that is done, you are ready to begin to manipulate the slider bars and change over to CNG. So you can see there, almost all the way done. You're even getting a little bit of population up to 12 and 14, and that's okay. The more the merrier. You just don't want to break the engine, during the test drive. Keeping it at 4 times speed for the sake of boring you to death. After we've collected the petrol, we're going to switch it over to CNG. You just click the button at the bottom right with the mouse, and you can see it's starting out running really lean. You can look at these short-term and long-term fuel trims for bank 1 and bank 2, and you can see the bars are very blue very quickly. So you're running lean, so we're going to go to the slider bar and move it up. I know from past experience that 1.3 is a good starting point on these big engines. And it was also idling very lean as well. So that's, or I'm sorry, it was idling very rich. So which was kind of opposite, but it's kind of typical on some vehicles. So I dropped it down to negative 18. Now you can see the progress bar across the bottom. The collection status is the blue bar of the map of the CNG. They are starting to populate, and some coloration is acceptable. The darker, the worse. So you can still see that we're running a little bit rich. So I'm going to drop this down from 1.32 to 1.28 and clear out the gas map again. Always clear out the gas map after you adjust the slider. The slider is simply telling the algorithm that, hey, it's still running too rich or too lean. In this case, it's running too rich, so we're constantly beating it down, and the algorithm is learning from those slider adjustments. You don't have to worry so much about these bars if they don't react very quickly. That's very typical on these big engines. So see how they may start out kind of big, and a bigger rich bar may even be pretty dark like it's getting right now. If it gets super dark, you can always drop it down, which is what we just did. We're clearing it out. You'd always prefer these things to be on the lean side anyway. But at the end of the day, if the collecting status bar at the bottom is not up to the very top, then don't feel like you have to run and turn start messing with the slider bar. It's not the end of the world if you see a big spike or a big dip in the bar chart, especially if the collecting status is not complete. We're really just looking for something to be kind of even. See, right now you're getting it's showing right around 6 milliseconds or just below it, kind of a lean bar, but we haven't collected too much, so we're just going to let that go for now because the vehicle feels pretty good as we're driving down the road. It doesn't feel like it's too bad. Hopefully your driver can target certain areas of the map so that you can populate the collecting status bars as quickly as possible without getting in a wreck. And as you're doing so, again, you're just feeling the vehicle to see how it's running. We see a big bar popping up, 1.5, now it's down to 1.2 as we drive a little bit more. So you can see as you hit those spots of the map, the vehicle is starting to adapt and adjust because of the algorithm. And it's not necessarily rich, too rich, even though it was showing a bar saying such. This is flattening out pretty nice. It feels pretty good running down the road. So we're getting pretty close. Now we're making really small adjustments on the slider bar. We just moved down from 1.3 to 1.29. Remember that CNG vehicles prefer to run a little bit lean on CNG. So at the end of the day, you'd rather have a little bit of blue showing more than a little bit of red. The ideal being obviously the white bars. Watching your fuel trims on the right, you want them all to be single digits on those long-term fuel trims, plus or minus 5 around 0. And the slider bars will, you'll notice that they move by themselves. So just keep an eye out for that. That's the algorithm learning and making adjustments as you go, and it's just up to us as we're tuning it on the test drive, to give them a little bit of help. And as we help it and clear out the gas map, the algorithm learns and does things the right way. Fast forwarding about 14-15 minutes, just because we had to pull over and get something to drink, and now we're back finishing up the map. It really looks pretty decent right now. It's still probably running a little bit on the rich side, so we're looking at the slider, and we're going to keep bringing it down. The map collecting status across the bottom, you can see that we've collected a good map in most of the driving portions of the map grid. Still looking a little bit rich on the long terms, so that's why we bumped it down. I'm not clearing out the gas map. You can. It definitely doesn't hurt to clear out the gas map, but this looks pretty good. I bumped it back down. I know from previous experience that this vehicle is going to run just fine around 1.3, and then from that point on, the LPGtech algorithm will get it where it needs to go.